everybody. Welcome to the tightest press box in the Championship here at Deepdale. Adam Harvey and Connor Southwell going to bring you the team news. We'll give you a very positive little bit of insight. We've seen Johnny Rowe and Josh Sargent on this pitch, which indicates they're probably both in the squad. Connor, that feels like a huge positive for Norwich City.
Yeah, well, we might be able to bring them the team news in just a moment, because I've got a team sheet heading my way. Thank you very much.
Here we go. We've got a sneak preview.
This is ahead of time. Norwich City's starting lineup today is Angus Gunn, Jack Stacey, Ben Gibson, Borja Sainz, Josh Sargent starts, Ashley Barnes, Sam McCallum, Gabriel Sarah, Kenny McLean, Shane Duffy, and Marcelino Nunez. The big news is this, though. Jonathan Rowe makes the bench. The subs: George Long, Sidney Van Hooijdonk, Danny Bart, John Rowe, Kellen Fisher, Finley Welsh, Ken Abo, Pedro Lima is on the bench, and Guilherme Montoya as well. So there's the headlines for you. Josh Sargent starts. Jonathan Rowe is on the bench.
Yeah, do you think that was a little bit of mind games from David Wagner there in the press conference? Obviously, sort of hinted that he hadn't trained on the Thursday, but was a doubt for this game. That feels like a huge boost, though, for Norwich City, particularly this kind of magnitude of game where it feels like Preston are going to come out and attack it. You know, Norwich with the outlet of Josh Sargent, that's a huge boost.
Yeah, it's a massive boost, isn't it? I think we've all seen this season the difference of a Norwich side with and without Josh Sargent. You could argue that we saw it even at Sheffield Wednesday midweek. So I'll just recap for people joining us a little bit later. We have the team sheet in my hand, which is a little bit early, but thank you to the kind guys at Preston. Josh Sargent starts for Norwich City today. John Rowe on the bench, which is obviously massive news. So, yeah, I mean, look, when he delivered it on Thursday, there was a part of me that maybe thought there was a degree of mind games going on. Clearly, and we saw it at Hillsborough, he had an issue, particularly in that first half. He was sort of looking in and around his upper leg. I thought it was more hamstring than quad, to be honest. But, slight quad issue. That meant he didn't train certainly as late as Thursday. It probably means that he did train on Friday, however. So, it's a really, really good sign for Norwich City that he's fit enough to not just play, but to start as well, because, you know, I think there was a lot of stuff about just about what that would mean if he could or couldn't play. And in a game as big as this, Norwich City need it. So to have Josh Sargent starting and to have, John Rowe on the bench is massive. And, you know, I don't know if it's been pointed out elsewhere, Adam, but Christian Fashnak not even in the matchday squad today. So that's quite revealing in itself. So I'll just I don't know if people want me to read the team again, but I can. We have it here in advance notice of it. Angus Gunn in goal, Jack Stacey, Ben Gibson, Shane Duffy, and Sam McCallum, Kenny McLean, and Marcelino Nunez, Gabby Sarah, and Borja Sainz, with Ashley Barnes behind, Josh Sargent up front, and the subs bench: Long, Van Hooijdonk, Bart, Rowe, Fisher, Welsh, Abo, Pedro Lima, his first involvement in a matchday squad, and Guilherme Montoya as well. That's Norwich City starting 11 here at Deepdale.
Shane Duffy back in, of course. We saw Danny Bart play at Hillsborough during the week. You know, Wagner kind of, I suppose, intimated that Duffy was kind of struggling, I suppose, coming back from that injury, you know, then sort of the fitness element of it, the big derby, the minutes that were involved in that, and sort of energy, I suppose, you had to exert. Surprised to see him back in the 11, or certainly for this kind of game. He feels like he probably was a shoe-in to start.
Yeah, I think so, particularly when, David Wagner comes out and he speaks about directness and physicality, and expecting those to be the ingredients that they're going to sort of Preston are going to show here this afternoon. I think immediately in your head you think about Shane Duffy and the qualities that he brings, particularly in your own box, and that is his bread and butter, isn't it? Heading it, clearing it, blocking it, getting his body in the way. Those kind of fundamentals in defending are what he thrives at and what he has thrived in all season. So, yeah, it felt like the right decision. Obviously, Norwich will have to manage perhaps the distribution concerns that are there on the flip side, but probably in terms of, if you're looking at it as a pure defensive argument, I think he's probably Norwich City's best defender. Clearly, there's distribution and stuff that you have to take into that as a performer and as a player, and how he fits into the team. But you can negate that through the use of Marcelino Nunez, Ben Gibson on his left, and simplifying his game a little bit. So, yeah, not surprised to see him in today, and it's good to see him back. And again, it's maybe a good sign that Norwich City's fitness concerns maybe are not totally gone, and they're not out of the woods yet, but maybe they're easing somewhat ahead of what is an absolutely massive final 4 games of the campaign.
Intrigued to get your thoughts kind of on the bench, Connor. I know with David Wagner after the game the other night kind of hinted at kind of the rotation of his squad maybe being limited by the fact we got the sense he doesn't trust the players maybe in terms of the youth players on the bench to come in and affect this kind of game. You look through that bench, no Christian Fashnak there. There's a few people that pointed out, Sidney Van Hooijdonk we've not seen for the last 4 or 5 games. Jonathan Rowe coming back from injury. The rest are relatively young players. If this game Norwich do need to maybe change it to affect it, or they're trying to see the game out. What sort of options do you feel David Wagner there has on the bench maybe to utilise?
Yeah, and that's the concern, isn't it? When you look at players like Sargent, like Duffy, these are players who haven't been able to play 90 minutes in the week. It's a 3-game week as well. That brings pressures, particularly when 2 of those games are away, and you have to factor in travel and elements like that. That there are always going to be risks with travelling with such a young, sort of thin squad, so to speak, and having young players fill that in. So, yeah, I mean, at some point, something's going to have to happen. He's either going to have to compromise and play some of these young players, or those players who are in the starting 11 are going to have to keep being risked and keep being pushed. So, yeah, I mean, obviously having John Rowe on there is massive from an attacking sense, and the variance that he gives you. Essentially, they haven't lost out on that. And obviously, as we know, Liam Gibbs being out for the season as well, they've lost someone that David Wagner did rely on and was often in recent weeks Norwich City's first and second choice. I mean, as we sit here now, we've seen Waylon Reneka, who has been in the matchday squad, I think, for Stoke, young left back who has sort of been doing some sort of fitness drills around the pitch. So he has travelled here this afternoon as well, and that maybe emphasises where the squad is at. And it's a bit of a kick in the teeth, isn't it? You get John Rowe back, and then you lose Christian Fashnak. So from an attacking sense, you're looking at Rowe in terms of impact in the game. You're looking at Van Hooijdonk, particularly in light of Sargent's fitness concerns this week that have been real and have been there. But yeah, then you get to the stage. I mean, you look basically after John Rowe's name, you've got Kellen Fisher, Finley Welsh, Kennebo, Pedro Lima, Guilherme Montoya. I mean, that's an extremely young. Even John Rowe's young, but that's a bench young and inexperienced, I guess, as well. So that feels like the crunch point. Do Norwich get to a stage where actually they need to rely on some of these players? And if so, then we can have a debate, I think, about quality. But it's going to be really interesting to see what stage maybe David Wagner feels that some of these young players can handle it and can be dropped into, because make no mistake, today here with the issues that Norwich City have in their squads, they're going to have to use their bench wisely.
Yeah, a few comments. I can confirm here, Hooijdonk is on the bench. In terms of Fashnak, we will get an update, of course, from David Wagner. Post-match, Connor will pose the question to him. We'd assume that's a fitness-related issue, because I think any other reason why probably doesn't really make sense for why he's not on the bench, particularly given kind of what we've just spoken about there. Connor, do you want to read out the Preston team? And what sort of, I suppose, tests do you think they're going to face? They tend to play sort of a 3/5 at the back, so that's probably a system that maybe you don't come across that often in the Championship.
Yeah, I'll read the Preston team for you. I'll apologise immediately for any mispronunciations and obviously the lack of formation. We're a man down, so we're a bit light on the old graphics front, but we'll let Paddy off for the circumstances that he's in. Freddie Woodman in goal, Lindsay, Will Keane starts, Alan Brown starts, Mad, Frojka, Robbie Brady, a name familiar to Norwich City fans, Jordan Story, Andrew Hughes, Dwayne Holmes, Jack Watmore and Millerton Osmanic, who scored a hat-trick in midweek against Huddersfield. Their subs bench, Di Cornell, Greg Cunningham, former Norwich City lone striker Ched Evans, Leighton Stewart, Ryan Ledson, Emil Rees, Kyan Best, Noah Mwene and Josh Seary. That's the Preston team this afternoon. And in terms of a challenge, I think they're going to look to get the ball back to front pretty quickly. They're going to be intense. We've been speaking about it all morning. The form that they've had really since the end of January has been absolutely terrific. I think it's 1 defeat in 8 here at Deepdale and 2 defeats in 12 in general. So that goes to show the type of position that they are. And I'll be completely honest, I probably wasn't expecting this game to feel the way that it feels, because I looked at Preston maybe as the side that would drop away in the way that perhaps Hull have done in recent weeks, not to say that they're completely out of it yet. So it's incredibly impressive what they've done and how they've been able to maintain that. And they're going to need no motivation for this. So I'm expecting a quick start. I think Norwich are going to have to ride waves of pressure at points. The fan base are going to be up for it. The Preston players are going to be up for it, because they know the reality. They need to win this game really to keep their playoff hopes alive, and so Norwich have to be prepared to withstand that test. Obviously, I put that to David Wagner on Thursday, and he was quick to kind of point out that Norwich have navigated a lot of these games, where there is a lot riding on it, and there is pressure on them to perform. You think even back to January when they have West Brom at home, Coventry at home, Hull away. These type of games are the experiences that they need to lean on, and obviously, we all know their away form as well. So. It's going to be a fascinating game, and I think Norwich fans will be buoyed by that team news with Josh Sargent back in and John Rowe on the bench.
Yeah, before I get your score prediction, are you kind of expecting a different game to that we saw at Carrow Road? That was a tightly contested 0-0. Preston probably, at that point were in poor form, and it felt like Ryan Lowe was sort of trying to get the result required just to keep his job. David Wagner was sort of coming out of a sticky patch in the autumn there. It feels like this is all set up for, a very different game.
Yeah, I think so. Just because of what I mapped out there. I mean, the reality is, and I won't probably need to explain the permutations to people, but if Norwich City can win this game, that would put 8 points between them and Preston with 3 games to go. I mean, you'd have to say that is them done, really. That is a sufficient cushion to Preston that they would not be able to recover beyond something absolutely disastrous happening and something absolutely miraculous happening on the Preston end. And they've got a tough run of fixtures after this as well. They go to Southampton on Tuesday. They've got Leicester to play, West Brom to play as well. QPR away, and Norwich know the difficulties of that. So that is obviously the flip side of it. The negative side is that if Preston win this, then they claw back. Obviously, they go within 2 points of Norwich with that game in hand. So Norwich would essentially lose control of the grip they've got on the top 6 at the moment, with, of course, Coventry away at Birmingham. So it feels probably more of a must-win for Preston than it does for Norwich. I think for Norwich, you could definitely file this as a must-not-lose, I would say. But obviously, even a draw would probably open the door slightly for Coventry if they could go and beat Birmingham. Norwich have had results their way in recent weeks, and we'll see if that continues. But yeah, and so that context means that what we're going to get here today is a Preston side who don't lack for motivation, who are going to be on the front foot, who are going to be aggressive, who are going to be intense. But I think there will be counter-attacking opportunities for Norwich on the back of that. And we know how slick they've been, particularly when Josh Sargent has led the line. So, that's the type of game that I'm expecting here.
Yeah, anyone that's watched the preview show or Instagram Live this morning might have heard your sort of score prediction, but that was prior to seeing the team news and seeing Josh Sargent in the starting 11. How are you feeling, Connor? Confident, or I suppose sort of a nervousness maybe given the sort of upturn of Preston's form?
Yeah, I think there is that, and it's Norwich's away form as well, isn't it, that goes into that. And the reality is they haven't been great on the road. They've won 5 all season. 3 of those have come at top half side, so they've only beaten 2 teams essentially in the bottom half away from home. Preston are in the top half, so we'll hope for a good result this afternoon. It's going to be difficult because of the context that we've just mapped out in this broadcast, but Norwich have quality. They have the ability to hurt teams. We saw that. I think it's going to be about kind of how Preston approach it, and equally how successful they can be on the break. I think this is going to be really cagey, and I think it's going to be 1 apiece, Adam.
Yeah, I think I could see a draw in this game, which probably, from a Norwich perspective is not the worst result. Obviously, we are at that stage of the season where other results probably determine how positive a Norwich result feels. But I think there's a lot more confidence in the comments section. We've got Jeffman. He's going for a 3-1 Norwich win if Sargent starts. Of course, he is starting, so that's a huge boost. Elliot Pearson going for a 2-0 Norwich City win. In fact, Jeffman changed his score to 9-0 Norwich after seeing Josh Sargent in the starting 11. NCFC 1 on YouTube going for a 2-1 Norwich City victory. Elliot Sloan, he's I suppose a little bit more negative there. 2-1 Preston. Sort of range of results there. Connor, I've seen a comment here from Patrick on YouTube. Is our finishing going to be better than versus Wednesday? That feels like, particularly in this kind of game where the chances might be limited, Norwich have got to find the shooting boost today. Yeah, and as a rule, I mean, you look at the expected goals metric is the best one for this, I'm afraid, for people who maybe don't like that metric. But think of it more as quality of chances that they've had. Norwich are performing over their expected goals rate, so that is an indication of good finishing, or being lucky, whichever camp you want to put that into. But Josh Sargent has outperformed his expected goals. John Rowe also, I think Gabriel Sara has. So there is quality finishing in there. And I think there will be opportunities here for Norwich today. So like you say, I think there's an element of that. Freddie Woodman, I think, is a very good goalkeeper at this level. But yeah, that could be it, and it's going to be those margins of which this game is decided. I think. I don't know. Did you say your score prediction, Adam? Come on. 2-2 is what I've gone for. I think a point is not the worst result, given they've got these 2 home games on the horizon. We know the home form, and I know teams on the beach can often be dangerous, but you look at Swansea and Bristol City's league position, they're safe in the Championship. They're not going to be challenging in the playoff push. So we've got Williams coming in. Blackburn have just scored versus Leeds, 1-0. Every team in the top 3 really struggling to sort of mount any momentum. A few late score predictions: 3-2 Norwich from the Dubai Canary. Paul Clark going for 2-0 Norwich. Ben pointing out, Jack Ruddy debut in the under-18s.
Fantastic.
So, I think all set up for a really fascinating game as the rain starts to come down here at Deepdale. We'll just quickly shout out if anyone's interested, and Paddy might be watching. Really great news that the safe arrival yesterday of the baby celebration. Can confirm. Yeah, really happy for Paddy. Of course, a second edition, a young girl, which is of course great news for him personally. Hopefully Norwich can top off that with a victory, and hopefully a few of the players might have seen that and maybe do pull out the baby celebration. That would be great. I think that will probably round off this team news. Of course, join us across on the Pink and Plus app for all your live coverage. It'll be Sam on the live blog. David Wagner post-match. Be interesting to see the reason why Christian Fashnak is not in the matchday squad. Hopefully that's nothing too serious, particularly given the three big games after this and potentially some playoff games. So that'll be it. Fingers crossed for a positive Norwich City result this afternoon. And thanks for joining us from Deepdale.